When most people think about spies, they probably think about highly trained, stealthy individuals who can blend into almost any situation. Images of James Bond and Jason Bourne might even come to mind. Espionage is a delicate art. It's about keeping, obtaining, and preserving secrets while immersing oneself in a persona that fits the part. So it shouldn't surprise anyone that some of the greatest actors and stars of the golden age of Hollywood were enticed into the spy game. These stars weren't exactly all they seemed on the surface. The public might have seen them as TV and movie stars, authors, and musicians, but for the governments they were working for, they were invaluable assets assigned to classified missions that very few were privy to. So let's dive in and discover for ourselves which stars were secretly working as spies on the down low. Roald Dahl. Dahl is best known as the author of numerous iconic children's and young adult novels, including Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, The BFG, and James and the Giant Peach. What's less known about the popular British author is he spent several years as a spy for the British Army during World War II. He was a pilot for the British Royal Air Force during the war, but was relocated to Washington in 1942 after sustaining heavy injuries in a horrific crash that rendered him unfit for service. He was assigned to use his looks and charisma to gain access to prominent figures in the American political discourse. Dahl was a member of an elite group of William Stevenson's agents known as the Baker Street Irregulars. Hey, before we move on, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And don't go anywhere. You wouldn't want to miss learning the shocking truth about people like Harry Houdini and Cary Grant, would you? Frank Sinatra. Even though it's never been officially acknowledged in any way, some people remain convinced Frank Sinatra had deep ties and dealings with the mafia. The singer's association with the mob has been suspected for ages, but FBI documents show that J. Edgar Hoover, the Bureau's chief during those years, never found compelling evidence to support these claims. Everything was purely speculative, but it's possible evidence of his ties to the organized crime syndicate might have been covered up, buried, or even destroyed. According to Frank's daughter, Tina, her dad became a secret dispatcher working for the CIA, helping transport people secretly in and out of the country. He did his job well, and no one ever suspected him of being a spy, because he was already constantly jet-setting around the world on his private jet anyway. It was the perfect cover story. Ian Fleming. Fleming was a journalist with a special aptitude for organizational skills, and who was equipped with a memory like a steel trap. These were two qualities that caught the British Naval Intelligence Agency's attention when he was working as a journalist. He helped maintain communication between a branch of the British intelligence and the British Admiralty. Fleming was exceptionally good at what he did and even got the chance to help the office develop a huge chunk of their best-laid plans in that era. He later went on to adapt some of his experience working for the British intelligence into his first 007 novel, Casino Royale. Julia Child. Long before she was teaching the world how to cook such delicacies as quiche Lorraine on her groundbreaking culinary TV program, Julia Child was a spy at the Office of Strategic Services, which was essentially the predecessor of the CIA. During World War II, she worked for the OSS in Washington, D.C., and was later stationed in Sri Lanka and China, where she was even promoted to the rank of Chief of the OSS Registry. During the war, she worked as an intelligence officer, relaying information from Allied agents in the field in places like China and Ceylon. Harry Houdini. Houdini was a Hungarian-American magician, escape artist, and stunt performer. His illusions not only mesmerized the public, they also caught the attention of Scotland Yard and the U.S. Secret Service, who recruited him to infiltrate Russian police stations to get sensitive and strategic information for them. Supposedly, Houdini would stroll into police stations all around the globe, insist he be locked up, and would use his infamous escape skills to impress the local law enforcement officers. He collected his intel while maintaining his regularly scheduled tour dates as an established cover. Cary Grant. It might be hard for some to fathom, but Cary Grant was a real-life secret agent working for the British government. History tells us he was one of the greatest Nazi hunters of Hollywood. During World War II, he was tasked with keeping tabs on suspected fascists and Nazi sympathizers. One of his greatest feats was outing the legendary Errol Flynn as a Nazi backer. He also investigated the former German husband of actress Barbara Hutton. Later on, Grant married Miss Hutton, but their marriage was short-lived. Grant was a strong supporter and advocate for the British cause and donated a sizable chunk of his salary throughout the course of the war to the Red Cross and British War Relief. Marlene Dietrich. Dietrich, a German actress, regularly performed for the U.S. troops serving on the front lines of World War II. She would also send back a regular stream of intelligence reports to the States, thus earning her the FBI's trust. She wasn't the only starlet that was assumed to be spying for the U.S., but she was the only one who was suspected of being a double agent for the Germans as well. Because of that, she was constantly surveilled by other U.S. intelligence agents to ensure she was playing for the right team. Strangely, a huge chunk of her personnel file went mysteriously missing right before the records were made public. Greta Garbo. A lot of people assumed her retirement from the entertainment industry in 1935 was just a cover-up for her acting role as a spy for the Allied forces. She used her status as a Swedish celebrity to sniff out Nazi operatives and report their actions to the Allies. One of her most dangerous missions was to covertly transport a man from Copenhagen to Britain, which she accomplished with the help of Winston Churchill's special envoy and the assistance of Canadian secret agent Sir William Stevenson. The man she smuggled was none other than Niels Bohr, who went on to help develop the first atomic bomb. John Ford. His career spanned nearly 50 years. Mr. Ford directed more than 140 feature films and is often regarded as one of the most influential filmmakers of his era. During World War II, he served as the head of the photographic unit for the OSS, creating a new aerial photography technique for the armed forces. He also got the opportunity to direct numerous wartime propaganda movies for the U.S. government and even filmed the D-Day landing by himself. One of his most notable contributions while working for the government was informing the intelligence community about a suspected Japanese presence right off the coast of Baja California. Christopher Lee. He was not only one of the most prolific actors in Hollywood history, but also had an impressive career in service of his country. Lee was fluent in 6 languages and was related to both Robert E. Lee and Charlemagne. He was also a member of the SAS during World War II and was closely associated with the precursor to that organization, the Long Range Desert Group. As Special Operation Executive, Lee conducted reconnaissance missions in occupied regions of Europe, hunting down suspected Nazi war criminals and their supporters. He never publicly went into detail about his work, but some details have leaked over the years. Sterling Hayden. Sterling is probably best known for appearing in films like Dr. Strangelove and The Godfather. For the latter, he played a corrupt police officer that Michael Corleone rubs out at the restaurant. Hayden was in reality a real-life covert operative working for the U.S. intelligence community. He worked for the Office of Strategic Services during the Second World War, parachuting down into Croatia to spy on fascist movements that were poisoning the region with their destructive ideologies. Moe Berg. Berg might not have been the most adept spy. Some reports imply he wasn't particularly thrilled to be one, but a wealth of skills made him perfect for the job. Berg did most of his spy work for the OSS, touring Japan as a part of the American All-Star team in 1934. He was sent out on one particularly dangerous solo mission in 1944, assigned to collect sensitive data from the Germans, who the Americans were convinced were trying to build an atomic bomb. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know that all these stars were secretly spies? Who do you think might be a spy in modern-day Hollywood? Let us know in the comments below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.